Matt?
How are you?
I'm very well.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah? What are you up to?
I just came back from Hawaii last night.
Last night?
Yeah, late, so I'm a little discombobulated.
What were you doing there? You're not living there, right?
No, I wish. Oh, God. I just got back late last night from Hawaii where me and my musical partner, Daniel Ho, were doing a concert at the University of Hawaii.
No way.
And a Q&A afterwards talking about our music.
And now you're a Grammy winner as well.
I know. I'm a multi-Grammy winner.
Multi-Grammy winner.
Ooh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I have to pinch myself. I'm really, really fortunate. It's unfortunate in that they sort of culled through the categories, and so I have the dubious distinction of being the last Best Hawaiian Album Grammy winner.
Hey, there you go. It's too bad that's cut, though, but congratulations nonetheless.
Thank you. Thank you.
When do you want to make another record? Do you want to continue making records every few years?
Yeah. I'd like to branch out and incorporate some of the Hawaiian and some of the exotic into some English language pieces. That's my next step. Probably putting together a band and, I don't even know. I mean, I have a few different references. It's, trying to create another, level to the music that I started out doing. But I'd like to, get more of, I think it makes it more universal when you're singing in English because
for sure.
As beautiful as Hawaiian music is, if they don't understand you, sometimes people tune out. So I'd like to sort of bring what I've created in the Hawaiian language world and bring it into English language and make that more available to more listeners. And
then go on the road and tour. Like, do you want to be a full out musician?
I would love to because that's always been my love, but mistress on the side. It's hard going back and forth and trying to, because you have to commit to a tour schedule, which means that you're off the market for acting and things like that. So it's a delicate balancing act, and each time that I've done it, it's like I've got a TV show and it goes up against the wall. I'm like, I gotta go. This is my drop dead date, and I have to jump on a plane at the last minute and go and do a music gig. It's always that way. Always that way.
Besides, I guess, you singing in Wayne's World, and maybe people don't even know that you were actually singing your own songs there, that I guess you started out as a singer?
Yeah, I started out as a singer. I was actually, when my partner and I, when we were, growing up in Hawaii, we performed at the Waikiki Shell when I was like 14 years old. Yeah. So it was awesome. It was awesome. Just that's what I thought I wanted to do with my life. I mean, here I am, like, performing for thousands of people when I'm 14 years old,
Yeah.
And then I get discovered in a grocery store in Waikiki, and that's how I got my first movie.
Were you? I heard about that discovery story. Were you looking to get into the business, or did it just happen and it just has worked out ever since?
It was. I had never done any acting prior to this. And I was just coming home from a modeling job. And, so it's like I was discovered in a grocery store, but I had a full face of makeup, a garland of flowers around my head called a haku headband. And, I think I was wearing like a T-shirt and bikini bottoms. So, it's like I was a little conspicuous in the grocery store.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. Bikini, flowers on your head, full makeup, coming from a modeling photo shoot. I probably hedged my bets, but a producer's mother and father approached me and said, "Hey, darling, you're gorgeous. My son's doing a movie here. You'd be perfect for the female lead." And I was like, "What? Really?" And so I guess they, did I call her? Anyway, I went and I read for the casting director, who was the casting director for Karate Kid and other, big films, Caro Jones, and I guess she's passed away by now. But I went in and just read for this role and got it.
Did you get the bug right away? Did you fall in love with acting?
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, it's fun. It's basically playing make-believe for a living. That's what you do,
How different is that from
the only job I've ever had? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, fair. Well, and singing now too.
Yeah, and singing now too.
So what are you doing at the Comic Expo? You're in Calgary, June 17th through 19th for the Calgary Comic Expo. I guess.
Yes,
for
because
all
I
the
was
characters
in one
you
of the
played throughout your life.
comedy movies, the Wayne's World, I guess, is why I'm there.
And Relic Hunter, I would think it would fit in with that crowd, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of comic in tone. Yeah, I loved that show. Relic Hunter was awesome. We did like 66 episodes over the course of 3 years. I was in Toronto.
Yes, so you're an honorary Canadian now.
I actually have. I was, married to a Canadian guy, and well, he's English, and he also has a Canadian passport. So I've got my permanent residency and all that stuff like that. Yeah, I just came from Toronto working on another show last week. So I was in Toronto, came to LA for 24 hours, and then went to Hawaii. It was crazy, but it was snowing on my head in Toronto, working on this TV show called The Hot Zone. That will be on ABC. Starting, actually, no, up there it'll be on Shaw.
Okay.
It'll be on Shaw starting June 15th, and my episode is the third episode.
What is the Hot Zone?
It is about a combat hospital in Kandahar.
Oh, wow.
Afghanistan, yeah, really cool. Amazing actors, Elias Koteas from Montreal, and Deborah Kara Unger. I think she's from Toronto and she lives there. And, Michelle Borth. But, all these great Canadian film actors.
How did they get you? How come you got involved in the project?
Well, to play a photojournalist, hotsy-totsy photojournalist opposite Luke Mabley, who plays one of the surgeons. So we had a fun little interlude.
That sounds cool. Yeah, we'll look out for that. So the Hot Zone on Shaw TV in June.
Yeah, June 15th it starts.
And you work on a new film, too, You May Not Kiss the Bride. What's that about?
You May Not Kiss the Bride, which is a light romantic comedy. I shot that in Hawaii. Seems like all my jobs are either Toronto or Hawaii.
not a bad combination of places to be.
Not bad, yeah, because I'm freezing my butt off in Toronto, like getting snowed on. Sorry, we have to cut. There's snow falling on your head in Kandahar. And then I fly to Hawaii, and it's like 85 degrees. So You May Not Kiss the Bride was with like Rob Schneider, Catherine McPhee, Mina Suvari, David Annable from Brothers and Sisters. Really, really funny cast. And I play, a native girl that helps Dave Annable find Catherine McPhee again.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be, it's like Hawaii was doubling for Tahiti. It just premiered over at the Sonoma Film Festival, so it should be coming out pretty soon.
Oh, wine country, nice.
Wine country.
What was Curb like working without a script? How was that for you? Because I would think that would be different for you.
Curb Your Enthusiasm was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. Because when you're hired on that show, you don't even know what your character is. Right. You don't know what the setup is until you arrive on set. So I get there, and they say, okay, you're Richard Lewis's girlfriend, and you're working for Larry's friend, and you're sitting outside of the bathroom, and, when he comes out, you notice how fast it is that he comes back out. You comment on it, and you just keep talking. That's it. That's all you know.
How many takes were you comfortable doing like that?
I guess I'm pretty talkative, so
so it worked out pretty well.
It worked out pretty well. Yeah, they said, okay, whatever you're saying about carpooling or whatever, just go with that. Go more with that. Okay, cool. So that's a direction. The first take, you just lay it down and you just keep talking, and then they come up to you. The writers say, hey, I really liked this thread and that thread, so just go with more of that. And then they come up with oh yeah, I like what you said about carpooling together. Riff on that. Don't let him walk away. I mean, that's the kind of direction you get, but it's all, verbal diarrhea in my part.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Has it made you want to do more improv or sketch comedy, that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I actually even got to back a few years ago now. I did a film up in... Where was it? It was in Montreal. Yeah, it was in Montreal. I was trying to figure out if it was Toronto or Montreal. But I did a film, and I got to improv with Marlon Brando.
No way. What was that like? Look at us quoting Wayne's World. That's insane.
No. It's entered popular vernacular.
That's true.
No way. I only did one scene with him, and I was playing an insurance adjuster, and he was trying to pull a scam. And I was there to question him about filling the proper paperwork out so that I could give him this check. But we were missing a few key pieces, and I was, investigating. But he completely, I mean, that was not supposed to be improvised. Mm-hmm. It was a written scene, and what we filmed had nothing to do with what was written. It was kind of hilarious. Yeah, Yves Simoneau was directing, and he handled it so well because he was like, oh my God, okay, wait, how do we get him back to where we need him? But yeah, he started off with, oh, are you Polynesian? You look like you're from the islands. I love the islands. I was like, oh my God, where are you going? Okay, well, Mr. whatever his character name was, thank you very much. I appreciate that, but that's not what we're here for. There are some few key pieces of paperwork that we're missing before I can give you this check. And he snatches the check out of my hand, and it was actually kind of funny, but it had nothing to do with what was scripted. That was holding on for dear life, basically, that bit of improvisation.
Oh, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Is he the best you've worked with?
Oh, God, the best. I mean, I really love what I did in, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was completely lost. I had no idea what I was saying, but it all works together. It all works out somehow. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. And we only did a few takes of that bathroom scene, and it's golden. It's awesome. So, I guess if you hire the right people, if you have the right people, the key pieces of information, the threads of improv that you like, you sort of selectively emphasize those things, and then, editing it together, and it all works. And then that funny music that they put in over it. I'm like, bang, zoom, there you go. That's how you make a TV show like that.
We
it was very, very Maverick, and I was really happy to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. We can't let you go without talking about Wayne's World a little bit. Are you sick of talking about Wayne's World yet, or is it something you still hold on to with dear memories?
Wayne's World is it was iconic, and it's I am so blessed and fortunate to have been a part of that. It's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show of our time, I think. Looking back on it, it was that iconic, and it affected. I mean, still today, people come up to me and just go, "Oh my gosh," whatever it was. It looms large because it's one of those films that people watch 5, 6, 7, 10 times, and it made it. It captured a time, and Mike Myers really, famous Canadian, really put some wind in my sails at the auditions because it was quite a lengthy process to get the role. But I guess maybe it was the last time that I went in, he goes, you know what, I just want to tell you that you're my favorite, and just whatever you're doing, it's fantastic. I'm rooting for you. And I can't tell you, just I walked in and I just went for it, and it was awesome. It was awesome to be a part of that, and it was really just a small picture on the slate. Like Paramount didn't know what they had. Nobody knew. It was one of those things where it just came together with the right people at the right time with the right script, and they were like double fuchsia and double chartreuse revisions on that script. But it was a magical thing that came together, and this little tiny movie, probably one of the lowest budget films that they did that year, became the highest grossing film of the year.
That's crazy. Well, it sounds like you do still fond memories of it.
Yeah, it was awesome. Oh, are you kidding me? It was hard because we had 30 days of principal photography.
Oh, that's it?
That's it, man.
Wow.
That's it. So we were running lean and mean, and like I said, they didn't. I think it was like $12 million or whatever it was for the film. It was that's minuscule for a studio picture.
Yeah.
So and it made like $200 and something million, whatever it was. But it was nobody knew what's Wayne's World. It didn't. You can't explain those things like the product placement. It was really visionary. Like when they did that little vignette about all the different things, and they'd lift the Coca-Cola can or the Midol or the whatever, and sort of doing little mini commercials. That's what they do now, except it's really subtle, and the lead drinks from a Pepsi or Coke, and then that's a little commercial in a movie.
Right.
Yeah, kind of trippy.
We do something on the show called 5 Questions. 5 quick questions, 1-word answers.
Uh-huh.
Singing or acting?
Both.
Come on, you can't say both.
I have to. I refuse. I mean, I was like, I love both. Why must I choose?
This is the point of the game, but okay, we'll let you off. But you
I
can't.
know, I'm no fun.
You can't say both again, though. That's your one both. That's your mulligan.
That's my one.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
Wayne or Garth?
Wayne.
Role you're most proud of?
True Lies.
Oh, you got to. Have you ever played a bad guy since then?
Have I played a bad? I think I have.
Was that the most fun though? Because I mean, you get to really act on a different scale at that level.
I love playing. Oh yeah, I played an evil witch in Kull the Conqueror, or Kull, whatever.
Oh, I remember hearing about that film. Yeah.
Yeah, an evil witch. Evil, and they wanted me for the lead. They wanted me for the, the princess gets saved and blah blah blah. I'm like, what? I really want to play the witch. I would have more fun playing the witch. And like, okay, fine.
Yeah, we've had a few wrestlers on the show who always enjoy playing the bad guy more than the good guy. I guess you can work more with it, I suppose.
You have more latitude, and also being such a polite, nice person, it's great to step outside of that and just be awful and enjoy it. It's liberating. It is. Think about it. Think about real life and how you have to be nice to people and not say bad things and, all that sort of thing.
That must be why Larry does so well in Curb. To be an ass the entire time.
Yeah, because he's pretty quiet and, kind of keeps to himself and does his, New York Times, crossword puzzle. But on camera, he gets to say these insane things.
Back to the 5 questions in one word.
Kill. One word.
Tia Carrere.
Hot.
Yes. I agree. Thank you.